Get this, 89% of the grown-ups in Egypt declare that their programming illiteracy was an objection for their career progress significantly. This is Abdulrahman Labib presenting the Intimate Founders. Before doing so, you need to know that Proxima is the one and only startup in Egypt that produces what we call a programming toy. This is to be a primary tool for educating kids between 8 and 13. Here are the founders.
The idea is that the world is no longer dependent on the degree of a person's education. That's obvious when you know that 39% of the current employment are working only by their skills. Speaking about skills, a statistic showed that there is a demand on technically skilled employees by 71%. Other research showed that by 2030, more than 61% of the current jobs will be replaced by technological devices and robots.
Science and research are always respected, but a bunch of interviews on the targeted districts would be even more. So, here we go.
According to the interviews, we found that 13% of interviewees are interested in the programming and they actually started getting deeper. Otherwise, 67% of them are willing to learn, but they haven't gone through it. On the other hand, 10% from the people in our target area have some misconceptions. Some of them thought that programming is just simply about computers and receivers. Others related to the internet, especially YouTube and downloading applications.
To overcome such a challenge, we searched for methods to teach them while avoiding boredom. After searching, we decided to build an educational game model. This educational game model is depending on creativity, thinking, arranging, and practicing. It consists of two parts: hardware, the toy body, and software, the mobile application. As a beginning, for learning a programming, we chose C++ programming language because it's easy to be learned. Also, it's flexible as it supports learning other programming languages. At first, the child will browse our learning materials, so he can know the basics that enable him write his first code. These learning materials are video tutorials, books, funny games, and so on. The toy body is colorful. It has funny toons and shapes. It includes all things that the child may need to create his code, such as numbers, alphabets, symbols, and others. Also, there is a part for advanced level, so the child can improve himself in code. To make sure that the ability of the child to create code is improving, so each code he writes is transferred to a compiler on our application using USB connected to the mobile phone. So he can check if the code he writes is wrong, so it will return him back to the learning materials. But if it's right, it will give him a prize.
In the bank, you can exchange $1 for 17.44 pounds. However, at 200 pounds in Egypt can get you what a $100 can get you in America. What you see now is the financial projection model that shows the first 5 years' growth. It was made to be as analytical and objective as possible and EDP driven. Based on the recent trends in the national economy, we assume an annual increase in the cost of material per unit. So, analogical to the continual raising demand of imports, inflation, we expect $1 increase in cost per unit. Seeking more accurate insights, we assume that no development or increase in price could happen in the next year, as it should be the time of gaining traction in the markets. Along these lines, significant development would happen rationally in the third year, refining our laser cutter machine, buying a new, more developed one, and adding some new features probably. Because, as you know, what makes anything successful is occasional self-evaluation and improvement. Along these lines, significant developments would happen rationally in the third year, refining our laser cutter machine, buying a new, more developed one, and adding some new features probably. Because, as you know, what makes anything successful is occasional self-evaluation and improvement. Superficially for a customer, however, he or she won't feel fluctuation in prices, as it's only made once in the third year, backboned by some new features and technologies.
Finally, I would shed light on our commitment to drive this idea successful. Being ready at the moment that things don't go usually as planned. Numbers are subject to change, percentages, costs, and revenues, but what's not changing is our will and resilience to cope up with whatever is for Proxima.
Here's Proxima!
Today, leading tomorrow.
Learning today, leading tomorrow.
Learning today, leading tomorrow.
Learning today, leading tomorrow.
Learning today, leading tomorrow.
Best.